Hi, hello, namaste dear students. Welcome back to Biomolecules video class 9. Dear students, in the last class we come across regarding the peptides and polypeptides followed by proteins, classification of proteins and structure of protein. So especially in case of structure of protein is studied in 4 levels: primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary structure of proteins. That is what we come across in the last class. In today's class, let us focus on denaturation of protein followed by biological importance of protein followed by vitamins. Okay, so now let me begin with denaturation of protein. What do you mean by denaturation of proteins? Students, it is the process of it is the process where protein loses its, otherwise it is a process where protein change in the physical and biological properties of proteins takes place by the action of heat, acid or alkali or any other denaturing agents is called denaturation of proteins. So what do you mean by denaturation of proteins? It is a process where the protein change in its physical and biological properties of protein takes place by the action of heat, acid or by adding alkali or by using any other denaturing agents. This process is called denaturation of proteins. See, you can understand like this: the normal protein converts into denatured protein. Denatured protein. This process, how it takes place means by the action of either heating or by adding a acid or by adding a alkali or by using any denaturing agents. Okay, denaturing agent. This process is called denaturation of protein. See, what is denatured protein? The protein whose physical and biological properties are lost. Are called denatured protein. Otherwise, a coagulated protein is called denatured protein. Then what is the example? Example for denaturation of protein, that is conversion of egg albumin. A conversion of egg albumin into cooked egg albumin. Otherwise, a conversion of egg albumin into a white mass. Upon heating, it becomes a white mass. That is example. Another example, that is when we add a lemon juice to the milk. It undergoes precipitation. Or we can write it as coagulation of milk, coagulation of milk, coagulation of milk by adding, coagulation of milk by adding lemon juice, by adding lemon juice. Okay. Okay students, now let us know what are the changes which takes place during denaturation of protein. During the denaturation of protein, what are the changes? Changes during denaturation. Changes during denaturation. See, what are the changes which takes place during the denaturation of protein? First point, primary structure of the protein remains same. Primary structure of the protein, primary structure of the protein remains same, whereas secondary and tertiary structure, secondary and tertiary structure of the protein changes. Secondary and tertiary structure of the protein undergo changes. See, why the secondary and tertiary structure of the protein undergo changes means because due to the breaking of hydrogen bonding and also disulfide bond and also van der Waals force. Because of the breaking of the hydrogen bonding and disulfide bond, the secondary and tertiary structure of the protein undergo changes, but not peptide bonds. Peptide bonds remains as it is. That is what primary structure remains same, but secondary and tertiary structure undergo changes. And during this process, especially when I take the example, for example, already I took that one, egg albumin. Egg albumin, when it converts into white mass, otherwise white mass or coagulated egg. Coagulated egg. So during the process, what happens? Look at here. Egg albumin is a globular protein. Egg albumin is the globular protein. It uncoils. So this is the globular protein, correct? This is the globular protein. During denaturation, this globular protein undergo uncoils. See, it undergo uncoils and converts into what? Thread-like structure. This globular protein converts into thread-like structure. That is, you are going to get a white mass or a coagulated egg. That is coagulated egg albumin. Coagulated egg albumin means you are going to get what? Fibrous protein. It becomes fibrous. A water-soluble globular protein converts into fibrous protein. A water-soluble globular protein is going to convert into what? Fibrous protein. Forms a fiber. Means during this process what happens? The movement, the randomness of the molecule increases. Because of the uncoiling of globular protein into fibrous, the randomness of the molecule increases. Means that indicates entropy of the protein increases. Entropy of the protein increases. See, we can quote the point like this. Second point, during denaturation, entropy of the protein increases. Entropy of the protein increases. Entropy, that is delta S. Entropy of the protein increases. Okay. And next point, protein loses its biological property. Protein loses its biological property. Protein loses its biological property. And even you can include that point also. That is, a soluble globular protein converts into insoluble fibrous protein. soluble globular protein, let me write here, soluble globular protein converts into insoluble fibrous protein. Soluble globular protein converts into insoluble fibrous protein. See, third point, protein loses its biological property, especially the egg. What happens if we incubate properly? In future, it gives rise to what? Life. It becomes a chick. But once it is denatured, it loses that property. It cannot give rise to what? Life. It cannot give chick in future. Once the protein, that is egg albumin, is denatured. That's what it loses biological property. Okay. So friends, this is what regarding the denaturation of proteins. Okay students, next concept is biological importance of proteins. Biological importance of proteins. See, what is the major role of protein? As we know, protein plays an important role in maintenance and growth of what? Organism. Correct? In maintenance and growth of the organism. Means growth of the organism. How? If we focus particularly means in a living system, how this protein plays an important role. In a living system, the protein act as enzymes. The protein act as hormones. The protein act as antibody. The protein act as a transport material. The protein act as structural material. So all together, what? Responsible for what? Growth of the organism. That's what it is called, a prime important molecule for all the living system. So especially in living system, protein plays a role as, in living system or in living organisms, protein as enzymes, protein as hormones, protein as antibodies, okay, and protein as a transport agent, and protein as a structural material. So these are the what? 5 important roles of protein in our body. Protein acts as a what? Enzymes. So now let us focus on enzymes. Of course, for our syllabus we are having enzymes and hormones. Now let us focus on enzymes. What are enzymes? Students, enzymes are the globular proteins. Produced by the living organisms. Enzymes are the globular proteins produced by the living organisms which act as a biocatalyst. Otherwise, enzymes are the globular proteins produced by the living organisms. They are specific They are specific in nature. They are specific in nature to catalyze biochemical reaction. They are specific. Say they are specific in nature to catalyze a particular biochemical reaction. That is, enzymes are the global proteins which are produced by the living organisms which performs or which catalyzes specific biochemical reactions. Biochemical reactions. So what are enzymes? Enzymes are the globular proteins which are produced by the living organisms which catalyzes a specific biochemical reactions which are going inside our body. Okay. Then that's what these enzymes are also called biocatalysts. 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 Enzymes are also referred as biocatalysts. Then example. When you focus on example, in the previous class we come across, one of our previous class we come across, that is starch is converted into maltose by the specific enzyme salivary amylase. Salivary amylase. And further, maltose is converted into, maltose is hydrolyzed into what? Glucose. 2 moles of glucose, is it? By using enzyme maltase. See, use the term ASE as a suffix while naming the enzymes. Use the term ASE as a suffix, maltase. Third example, if I take sucrose, sucrose converts into what? Glucose plus fructose. Glucose plus fructose. In the presence of the enzyme or by the enzyme sucrase. Sucrase. Similarly, proteins present in our body, they are digested by the enzyme. Proteins are digested by the enzyme. Proteins are digested. Proteins are digested by the enzymes. Pepsin, trypsin, peptidase, etc. into maybe peptides or amino acids. Correct? Proteins are digested by what? The enzymes pepsin, trypsin, peptidase into peptides or into amino acids. So that's what about the role of enzymes in our body. How the proteins act as a enzymes. Okay, students. As we know, enzymes, they are specific in nature, means they catalyze a particular biochemical reaction. Just now we come across maltose is going to convert into what? 2 moles of glucose by using enzyme maltase. Means maltase converts maltose into glucose. But maltase cannot digest or cannot catalyze sucrose into glucose and fructose. Okay. Similarly, protein digestion enzymes, that is where proteins converted into alpha amino acids by using the enzyme pepsin or trypsin. Okay, so these enzymes cannot catalyze what? Maltose, because they are specific. Maltase cannot catalyze either sucrose or proteins, whereas trypsin or pepsin cannot catalyze maltose or sucrose. They are specific in nature. Okay. Similarly, if oils and fats are there, oils and fats are digested by the enzyme lipase, digested by the enzyme lipase into glycerol and fatty acid. Oils and fats, by using the enzyme or in the presence of enzyme lipase, it hydrolyzes into fatty acids and glycerol, fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, and also the function of the enzyme or the activity of the enzyme depends on two conditions, especially two conditions. I think this you might be studying the chapter surface chemistry. Okay, enzyme catalysis. There you might be come across. But anyhow, that is the activity of the enzyme as a catalyst. It depends on temperature and pH of the solution. It depends on activity of the enzyme depends on what? Temperature and pH of the solution. pH of the solution. So especially, what is the temperature at which enzymes are most active? See, in our body, if enzymes are more active means the meals whatever we are eating, the food what you are consuming, it is digested immediately. Especially at what temperature? That is the optimum temperature where the enzymes are most active. That optimum temperature is 25 to 37 degrees Celsius. This is the temperature at which the enzymes are most active. So that is what maybe you might be come across in your life process also. Imagine yourself only, particularly yourself. You might be come across this one. That is, whenever you are suffering from the fever, a high temperature, whenever you are suffering from the fever, that time you can't eat properly, isn't it? You can't eat properly. Almost you want to refuse the food, you want to refuse eating. Why? Because your body temperature has been raised. So that time enzymes are inactive. If the body temperature is more than 37 degrees Celsius, or especially, let me quote another point here, that is, if the body temperature is more than 65 degrees Celsius, if the body temperature is more than 65 degrees Celsius, in that temperature, the enzymes are destroyed. The enzymes become inactive and they are destroyed. They become functionless. So that is what, whenever we are suffering from the fever, our body temperature rises. Think that if it rises more than 65 degrees Celsius, so that time enzymes becomes inactive. So there is no digestion process. That's what the person in fever, if he eat more, if the body temperature is more, automatically he will go for what? Vomiting. Okay. So anyhow, next, pH of the solution. pH of the solution means the activity of the enzyme also depends on particular pH. Especially the optimum pH for enzyme catalysis is 5 to 7. Between 5 to 7. Okay. Okay friends, this is what regarding the enzyme catalysis. Okay students, after proteins as enzymes, next concept, proteins as a hormones. Second one, proteins as a hormones. Now, what are hormones? Dear students, hormones are the proteins. Hormones are the proteins secreted by the ductless glands. Hormones are the proteins secreted by the ductless glands which releases directly into the blood. Which releases the hormones directly into the blood. Where blood carries to the particular tissue or to the particular organ where a particular physiological activity is initiated are called hormones. That is what hormones are also called biochemical messengers. Hormones are also called biochemical messengers. biochemical messengers. Okay, that is, the hormones are the proteins which are secreted by the ductless glands. Hormones are the proteins which are secreted by the ductless glands. Ductless glands which releases the hormones, which releases directly into the blood, or which secretes directly into the blood, and blood carries to the particular tissue. Blood carries to the tissues. Blood carries to the tissues or organs where a particular physiological activity or function is initiated are called hormones. Okay, means they act as a biochemical messengers. They carry the message to perform the specific physiological function, in a particular organ or tissues. Then example for hormones: oxytocin, insulin, epinephrine, estrogen, androgens, etc. Students, next, hormones are classified. Classification of hormones. 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 That is, hormones, polypeptide hormones, amino acid derivative hormones, steroid hormones. Okay, students, look at here. That is, types of hormones: polypeptide hormones, amino acid derivative hormones, and steroid hormones. Total 3 types. Okay. So in case of polypeptide hormones, examples under polypeptide hormones, that is insulin and glucagon. Then what is the function? Of these hormone, insulin and glucagon? They helps in metabolism of glucose and they control blood sugar level. Okay. And the next one, amino acid derivative hormone. So these hormones are derived from amino acids, hence they are called amino acid derivative hormones. Example, epinephrine and thyroxine. And especially thyroxine, it contains what? Iodine in it. The hormone which contain iodine containing hormone. Iodine containing hormone. Okay. See, epinephrine, it increases the pulse rate. And helps in what? To control the blood pressure. Okay. And thyroxine hormone, it helps in growth and development. And steroid hormones. So especially steroid hormones, example, estrogens and androgens. So what are that? What is the function of these hormones? They control the development and function of female sex organs. Female sex organs. So friends, this is what regarding the hormones. And next, of course, they are not there for our syllabus, but even though protein act as a enzymes, protein act as a hormones. And next one, protein act as a antibodies. Protein act as a antibody. That is, antibodies are the proteins which are produced by the living organism, which are produced in our body. Antibodies. Then what is the function of antibody? These antibodies, they fight against the antigens. Then what is antigen? Antigen is the foreign particle, otherwise a foreign protein we can call. Antigen is the foreign particle. Okay, when it is enter in our body synthesizes antibody. Our body synthesizes what? Antibody. What is antibody? It is a protein. A particular protein is synthesized by our body. This protein, our protein, fight against what? The foreign particle. That is antigen. So that is what? Antibody and antigen reaction takes place. Okay. This is how our body is immunized. Our body is immunized. Okay. The immunity of our body depends on what? A production of antibodies. Production of antibodies which fight against the antigens. And especially today, the entire world is worried about what? The disease COVID-19. Okay, because due to the coronavirus. Okay, see here also same. When coronavirus is infected our body, here the coronavirus is a foreign particle. When this foreign particle is infected, our body synthesizes antibody. That is a protein. Example for antibody, immunoglobulin G. Immunoglobulin G. Okay. When this antibody is produced, it fight against what? That virus. If our antibody is strong enough to fight against that virus, then the virus will destroyed. The virus will be destroyed and we will be free from what? Disease. But if our body fail to fight against that virus, then what happens? Then virus shows the symptoms, a particular reaction in our body. That leads to what? Symptoms like fever, headache, breathing problem, isn't it? All those problems will come. Means it depends on what? Immunity. Immunity. That's what they are saying. If you are having a strong immunity, you will not need to worry about what? Coronavirus or COVID-19. At present, if you look at the number of active cases, okay, number of active cases, in that 30% of the cases are like that where there is no symptoms at all. 30% of the cases where there is no symptoms, means a particular human being, even though he is infected with virus, coronavirus, he is not showing any symptoms. That indicates that person immunity is strong. In his body, the antibodies are produced. They are fighting against what? That virus. That's what that virus failed to show the symptoms in the body. It is not show, it is not activated. It is not working. That's what he is not showing any symptoms. Okay? And the person who is with low immunity, if the virus is infected, obviously he will show symptoms. Okay? So anyhow, dear students, that is what regarding the antibodies. Proteins as a antibodies. And next is proteins as a structural material. Proteins act as structural material. For example, the insoluble proteins like fibrous protein, they act as a structural material. They act as structural material for the cells and also they protect the vital organs, inside our body. Example, keratin. Keratin act as a structural material. Okay, collagen also act as a structural material. Then proteins act as a transport agents. Example, hemoglobin, which is present in our blood. Hemoglobin contains, that is iron in it, isn't it? So this hemoglobin is a protein. Hemoglobin is a protein. This protein, how it acts as a transport agent? It transports what? Oxygen and carbon dioxide. Correct? The oxygen what we inhale by the process called respiration, what happens? When we inhale, the oxygen is entered into the lungs. Through the lungs, it is passes into the blood. The blood carries. Blood carries. In blood, who is carrying? Who is transporting the oxygen? Hemoglobin, the protein which is transporting oxygen to the each and every parts of our body. Similarly, it carries carbon dioxide also. Means oxygen and carbon dioxide are transported in our body with the help of the protein, that is hemoglobin. This is how the proteins act as a transport agents. Yes, students, that is what regarding the biological functions of proteins. And next, let us focus on vitamins. Let us focus. Okay, students, next is vitamins. See, among these two, which is the correct spelling of vitamins? Students, the term vitamin is coined in the year 1912 by E. Funk. E. Funk. By E. Funk, who is a Polish biochemist. A Polish biochemist, E. Funk, who coined the term vitamins. See, in the beginning, they are given this term, vitamins. Vitamins. Look at here. Amines. Amines. The term amines, NH2, amines, means vitamins are a chemical class of amines. These are the compounds which contain amines in it. The deficiency of those compounds which leads to some disease, it leads to deficiency disease. So that is what they used to call vitamins, means vital amine. The meaning vital amine, because they used to think all those compounds, organic compounds which contain amines in it, their deficiency leads towards some disease. But later they came to know that not all the organic compound whose deficiency leads to disease contain amines. Not all the compounds contain amines. That is what they dropped the letter E. They dropped the letter E and given the name vitamins. Vitamin. So actual thing is, this is the correct one. Okay, that is, not all the compounds, that is what we call as vitamins, it contain amine group in it. That's what they dropped the term E. Okay, so anyhow, what are vitamins? So friends, vitamins are the organic compounds. Vitamins are the organic compounds. Vitamins are the organic compounds which are required in diet in small amounts. Which are required in diet in small amount. To perform specific biological function. To perform specific biological function, maintenance of optimum growth. Maintenance of optimum growth and health of the organism. Health of the organisms are called vitamins. So what are vitamins? Vitamins are the organic compounds which are required to our body in small amount. So how we are taking this in the form of a food, in the form of diet we are taking in small quantity, which performs a specific biological function and maintains what? Optimum growth and health of the organism. So are called vitamins. Students, the absence of vitamin, it leads towards some deficiency disease, but its presence is not felt. its presence in our body is not felt anything. The function is going on normal, but its absence leads to some deficiency disease. A total, especially a well identified vitamins. 13 well identified vitamins are there. They are classified into two types. A 13 well identified vitamins. A 13 well identified vitamins are classified into two types, two broad types. That is also classified based on ability to absorb by the oil or fat or in water. Based on ability to absorbed by the oil or fat and water. That is, if the vitamins are, a class of vitamin, if it is soluble in fat or soluble in water, it is called fat soluble vitamins. If it is soluble in water, then it is called water soluble vitamin. Based on ability to absorbed by the oil or fat, otherwise water, or solubility. Based on the solubility of these vitamins in oil or fat, or in water. It is classified into two types, two broad types. One is fat soluble vitamins, and another one is water soluble vitamins. Then what are fat soluble vitamins? The vitamins which are soluble in the fat, which are absorbed by the fat, are called fat soluble vitamins. Example for fat soluble vitamins: vitamin A, D, E and K. Vitamin A, D, E and K are example for fat soluble vitamins. Whereas water soluble vitamin, example, 8 class of B vitamins. 8 vitamins are there in the class of what? B. Vitamin B and vitamin C. So total 8 plus 1 plus this 4, that is 13 vitamins. Total 13 vitamins are classified into two broad classification. One is based on ability to soluble in oil or fat. Another is based on soluble in water. That is fat soluble vitamin, water soluble vitamins. Friends, now let us focus on types of vitamins and their chemical names, followed by the source and their functions. Okay students, that is classification of vitamins, their sources and their deficiency diseases. Just now we come across vitamins are classified based on solubility or absorption by oils and fat or in water, which is called fat soluble vitamins and water soluble vitamins. Fat soluble vitamins are vitamin A, D, E and K, whereas water soluble vitamins are vitamin B and C. In vitamin B, 8 classes are there. 8 classes of vitamins are there in B, like B1, B2, B6, okay, etc. So now students, fat soluble vitamins. See, they are soluble in fat. Hence, we not need to consume daily. We not need to consume the fat soluble vitamins daily because they are stored in the fat. Whereas water soluble vitamins like vitamin B and C, we need to consume daily because they are soluble in water. They may be excreted outside. Okay. So now let me focus on vitamins, their sources and their deficiency disease. See, first vitamin A, chemically it is called retinol. What are the sources? What are the sources of vitamin A means? Fish liver oil, carrots, butter and milk. So what is the disease caused by deficiency of vitamin A? Deficiency of vitamin A leads to what? Xerothalamia. Xerothalamia. Xerothalamia means hardening of cornea of eyes, and also it leads to what? Night blindness. Night blindness. Okay. Next, vitamin B1, which is also called, chemical it is called thiamine. See, A, B, C, D, all these are the common names of vitamins. The chemical name I written in the bracket: retinol, thiamine, riboflavin, pyridoxine, cyanocobalamin, ascorbic acid, ergocalciferol, tocopherol, and phylloquinone. So here vitamin B2, vitamin B1, thiamine. What are the sources where we are getting vitamin B1? Means we are getting from the source yeast, milk, green vegetables and cereals. What is the deficiency disease? Deficiency disease caused by vitamin B1. It leads to what? Beriberi. That is loss of appetite, which also leads to what? Retard growth. Retard growth. And vitamin B2, chemical name riboflavin, sources milk, egg white, liver and also kidney. It leads to what? Chelosis. Chelosis means fissuring at the corners of the mouth. Fissuring at the corners of the mouth and also lips is called chelosis. It also leads to what? Burning sensation. It also leads to burning sensation. Deficiency. Okay. Next, vitamin B6. It is also called pyridoxine. Sources yeast, milk, egg yolk and cereals. Deficiency disease caused by vitamin B6 is convulsions. Convulsions means in control of muscles. Our muscles will be not in our control. Okay. Convulsions. Then vitamin B12, chemical it is called cyanocobalamin. The vitamin which contains cobalt, that is vitamin B12, cyanocobalamin. Sources meat, fish, egg and curd. Then deficiency disease. The deficiency of vitamin B12 leads to pernicious anemia. Anemia, that is RBC deficiency in blood. Okay. Okay. Next, vitamin C, ascorbic acid. Sources citrus fruits, amla and green leafy vegetables. Its deficiency leads to what? The disease scurvy. Scurvy means bleeding of the gums. Okay, next vitamin D. Chemical name it is ergocalciferol. Sources exposure to sunlight, fish and egg yolk. Egg yolk. Dear students, only the one vitamin what our body can synthesize is vitamin D. Only vitamin D is synthesized in our body. Remaining vitamins we cannot synthesize in our body. Hence, plants can synthesize all the vitamins. That's what we are consuming. We have to consume these vitamins in the form of diet. Okay, by eating the plant products. Next, vitamin D, ergocalciferol. Deficiency disease leads to what? Rickets. R-I-C-K-E-T-S. Rickets means bone deformities in children. Bone deformities in children. Osteomalacia. Osteomalacia means the joint pain in case of adults. Softening of the bones and joint pains in case of adults. Next is vitamin E. Vitamin E, chemical name tocopherol. Sources vegetable oils like wheat oil, germ oil, sunflower oil, etc. Its deficiency disease leads to what? Increase in fragility of red blood cells. Increase in fragility means a cracking of the red blood cells takes place, and also it leads to what? Muscular weakness. Muscular weakness. Next, vitamin K, chemical name phylloquinone. Phylloquinone. Sources green leafy vegetables. Deficiency of vitamin K leads to what? Increase in the blood clotting time. Increase in the blood clotting time. So dear students, this is what regarding the vitamins. So in the next class, let us focus on nucleic acids. Okay. Thank you.